I'll edit that bit out.
Please remain seated. You are now entering the nerd bunker.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Bunker Podcast. I'm Mike, and as always, I'm joined by Hayley.
Hello.
You alright?
Yeah, not so bad.
Good. So, week 5.
I know, it's a bit mental, isn't it? It's 5 weeks of us sitting here talking a load of rubbish. We're still here.
They say after three doing something 3 times, it becomes a habit.
Do they?
I don't know, it's something like that.
I thought it were a lot more than that.
Maybe I pick up habits easy.
It does feel like quite a nice habit though, because my Monday evenings are like planned to sit, and it's basically like an old-fashioned phone call, isn't it? You know, those things that you used to do with people, but obviously we can't meet up with anybody anymore. So.
Since been replaced by texts.
Yeah.
So, start as we always do with the what you're reading, playing, listening to, watching. What have you done?
Reading the nutritional information on the back of food products. Telling you this, what do they call it? The COVID 15 pound. I think mine's more like COVID 15 stone. Oh, I laugh, but no, I'm back on it. I'm trying to sort myself out. And as soon as the weather turns, I want to do the couch to 5k again. Couch to 5k? Yeah, that's it. Couch to 5k. Because I did that last year. Well, we sort of did it together, didn't we?
Did indeed.
You know, and that was really, really good. And I wish I'd been able to keep it up, but I don't like running in dark, and it's chuffing snowing now, so...
Yeah, I started it again last week.
Yeah, I meant to ask you, actually.
It's been bloody cold. I was running in the hail at the weekend.
Oh, God.
We're supposed to go tomorrow, but I hate getting wet. And it's...
Yeah, it doesn't encourage you, does it?
We're doing the couch to 10k.
Oh, wow, okay. Oh, I'll stick to 5.
Yeah, but it builds you up to the 5k, and then it just carries you on.
No, it does. It does.
So it's just easier to do that. But I don't think I'm up to running 6.2 miles, is it?
Oh, I don't know. I know I can do the 5k. I think if I went out and tried to do it right now, pretending it was daylight and the weather was nice, I think I would struggle. But I know I've got it in me, and I know I can get there again. So, welcome to the fitness channel.
The running nerd.
Yeah, running nerd. Oh, no, that's never going to work.
So, yeah, did you find anything interesting on the back of these food packets? All these E-numbers?
Oh, chuffing palm oils in everything. Christ. I didn't intend on going off on this one, but we definitely should have called this the rabbit hole rather than the nerd bunker. But no, just, simple calorie counting, put it in an app, keep a track of things. Trying to eat healthily, plant-based, not a big fan of meat or anything, so we'll see, but...
I'm the opposite, and it's meat all the way.
I don't really like the taste of meat. I mean, I've toyed with being vegan many times. There are many haters out there. But I just don't particularly like the taste of meat, to be fair, so it's not even like I'm trying to be difficult. And we're only ever really left with chicken, and that just gets boring. And plants are quite interesting when you take the time to do things with them.
I'll take your word for it.
So I'll just rewind the previous 4 minutes and get back to what I was supposed to say. That's what I get for trying to be funny and saying I read something. I got myself another episode of The Secrets of Cinema. If anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a series I'm watching on BBC iPlayer. Mark Kermode, breaks down the different genres of cinema. So it's like a visual essay, but it's interesting, and he talks about lots of old films, comparing them to new ones. And this episode was science fiction. So I've been looking forward to this. I've sort of been saving it a bit. I'm saving an episode of a chopping TV series. But I think science fiction, it is the future, what we can make of it, or what we're afraid of, or what we dream about. Utopian, dystopian. It can be like really scary. I mean, like Aliens is sci-fi, but it's also a horror. So, you know, it ticks all my boxes.
Yeah.
And what got me really excited, the first film that they featured on this episode is one of my all-time favourite films, and it's The Time Machine, but the 1960s version.
This is a time machine.
Not the 2002 remake with Guy Pearce. He should have stayed in Neighbours. Although he was in, I want to say Memento, or was that the one with Tom Cruise in? Not sure. But he was good in that, so I'll let him off.
No.
He played Mike in Neighbours. I don't know if you ever did Neighbours.
I was unfortunate enough to see a few of them when I was still living at home.
He went out with, Helen? No, not Helen, she was the old woman. Mrs. Mangle's granddaughter, the blonde one? I don't know. It's not important. So yeah, The Time Machine. And I think it was probably the first film that really got me into sci-fi. And I remember watching it many times. And it's scary. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, it's years ago. It's the one with is it there where they live under the ground and they're like these white monsters?
Yeah.
If I was an educated man, I'd tell you what they're called, but
Morlocks.
that was the one.
Yeah, they've got like blue skin and like white hair and like hairy arms and hairy hands and stuff. And they are like proper scary actually. There's a couple of scenes where you see like these teeth and, you know, their eyes are like glowing. But yeah, basically, there's, I think, I don't know, like World War III or whatever, nuclear fallout, and the population split in two. So you've got the people that moved underground and some people that survived overground. And long story short, the people underground turned into these Morlocks, and they started treating the people overground like cattle and bred them. They provided everything for them, but then they were cannibals and took them down and ate them. Because that's what is going to happen in society. But that aside, the technology of it is really good. You know, for the time, some of the skills and methods that they employed to make it look like time was passing. So having stop motion animation of flowers opening and closing, candles burning down, speeded up movement of the sun going across the sky and what have you. It clearly had a big impact on me when I was a kid, because it's still one of my favourite films. I tried reading the book. It's by H.G. Wells. Yeah, I always want to say the other guy, but I can't remember now. Jules Verne. But no, this is H.G. Wells.
Yes, Jules Verne was Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Centre of the Earth.
Yeah. But the language of the book was just too much for me. It was like, it's not a very thick book, but the language was very thick. It was, I don't know how to describe it, but if it was visual, it'd be like really heavily decorative. And I couldn't get past the way that it was written at all, so I abandoned that. But also on this episode is a little interesting fact, because obviously they got onto UFOs and what have you, because it being a sci-fi episode.
I love 50s B movies.
Yeah. The UFO mania in the 40s, the first recorded sighting of a UFO, in inverted commas, was a cigar-shaped object that skipped like a saucer off the water. Now, somehow, between that very first statement, the only thing that stayed is saucer. So all these UFOs that are saucer-shaped basically came from this one first sighting. But it didn't even say they were saucer-shaped. It said it was cigar-shaped.
Yeah.
So somehow that stuck.
There have been quite a few reports of cigar-shaped UFOs over the years.
Yeah. Oh Christ, what's it called now? Will Smith.
Men in Black.
Independence Day. That is a cracking film. He is so good in that, is he not?
I don't know. It's years since I've seen it.
That bit.
I wasn't that enamoured by it.
Oh, I love it. That bit where he punches the alien and he says, "Welcome to Earth." That's just a really, really good line. But we'll save them for the UFO episode that we haven't planned yet. But apart from that, nothing's really grabbed me that I did last week. I did watch the first episode of the Star Trek thing, the animation Lower Decks. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that was on Amazon or Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. I only watched the first episode. It didn't grab me. I liked the fact that it's very Next Generation, because that's like my Star Trek era. And it was funny, but I think I need to watch it again and pay a bit more attention to it, because my little boy was running around at the time. You know, life, small people.
I've read reports that it's good.
Yeah, I have as
But
well.
then I've also read reports that it's absolute pants.
I've only heard good reports.
I can't work out whether it's like a Star Trek version of Rick and Morty.
See, I've never seen that, so I've got no comparison to it. I don't know. I'm going to give it another go. I'm not writing it off, but I did watch it. And the other thing is more of a planning. I just seem to be rehashing old things at the moment. I can't seem to get into anything new. We're on series 3 of Vikings, which I'm really enjoying watching again. But on BBC iPlayer, they've got a lot of the Scandi noir stuff, and I was massively into that.
Is that like the girl with the dragon tattoo? And
Yeah. I love it.
I've not seen it. I've not read it. I've not gone down that road.
The books are really good. The first time I picked up the first book, it was a bit much. I just remember there being some charts and a lot of figures, and it just sort of like messed with my head a bit. But the more I got into it, I couldn't put it down. And I remember, I think I was getting to the end of the second book, and I sent my mum to Tesco's, or the supermarkets are available, to get the third book. It's like, Mum, I need to read it. Will you go and get it for me? She did, bless her. But yeah, the Scandi noir stuff I've always really liked. I feel, I don't know, drawn to this cold climate with crows sort of cawing and lots of snow, and I don't know. I don't believe in past lives, but if I did, I don't know, there's something going off there. I feel like I've got some sort of connection to this. So I'm guessing you never saw a series called The Bridge?
No, it was recommended to me by several people. Funnily enough, I never got around to watching it.
Yeah, it is really, really good. It's...
That was the one where the body was found in the centre, and wasn't it like on a state line or a country line? It was
Sweden, Denmark.
Yeah.
They've got a bridge, and that was called The Bridge. Surprisingly. That's why it's called The Bridge, because the body was found half in Sweden and half in Denmark.
Right.
I'm not going to spoil anything for you, because I'm probably going to start watching it again. And the sort of main detective woman, she's called Saga, and I think she's got, apologies if I offend anybody by saying this, but I think she has Asperger's or something of that nature. I'm not sure if it's ever dealt with in the programme. She just works there, and she isn't atypical. That's a better word, isn't it? And there was another series called The Killing. Have you ever had that one?
No, I've not heard of that one.
I think that came before The Bridge. It's female lead character. She's called Sarah Lund, and she got famous for wearing these jumpers. Is it called a Fair Isle pattern? I don't know. But big woolly jumpers with like patterns on.
Right.
Not scary Christmassy ones, you know. Anybody that's watched The Killing will completely understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I think I need to get my Scandi Noir head back on, because I've not watched anything from that ilk for a while, and everything seems to be on BBC iPlayer. I'm not really touching Netflix at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, apart from that, a bit of random YouTubing while I was waiting for Red Dead 2 to reinstall, because I've been I've got a goddamn PlayStation 5 and no games to play. Oh, Red Dead Redemption 2.
I know. I've been looking at your pictures, like you've been posting and stuff, and it's like, oh man, I want to play it again now. Oh no, somebody's got my copy.
Yes, you lent it to me because I sell everything. Also, though, when I played it the first time, it was on Xbox. And we sold the Xbox, so I've never had a PlayStation version.
Has there been any noticeable difference? Perhaps it's upscaled on the PlayStation 5, but between the Xbox and the PlayStation?
Yeah, it asked me if I wanted to play in HD, and I said yes. And the graphics look really, really good. The movement's still a bit clunky, you know, when your character's walking and that, it never quite matches real footsteps.
Well, that's all the time on the horse.
Yeah.
It does that to a man.
Yeah. But apart from that, it looks really good. I don't know if I'm going to, like, actually play it properly. I think I just want to, like, go fishing and hunt animals and...
Find all the weird stuff.
Yeah, just chill out in the world.
There's the meteor crash, UFO.
Yeah.
The talking giant or whatever it is.
See, I didn't do half of that first time round.
See, I spent longer doing that. I spent hours trying to find the ghost train.
Yeah, you told me about that one before, and I've never...
Just to find the ghost train. And to the point where I'd never actually finished the game.
I didn't quite finish the, whatever you call it, is it the prologue? The bit at the end, you know, after Arthur's died.
Yeah.
I didn't quite finish that. I think I got a bit fed up. It'll keep me going. I mean, we have actually bought Cyberpunk against my better judgment. I might watch him playing it to see what it's like. But if it's crap, I can sell it. So, or it's PS4, so I'll let you borrow it first and see what you think.
I don't think mine's up to running it.
Because they never actually released it on PS5. It's still a PS4 game, which is part of the madness, really. They fucked up proper with that, you know. I mean, they've released a PS5. Their main big money, big brand game that is coming out is for the PS4. Oh, I could talk about this forever. Shut up.
I thought they were going to do it like they did Assassin's Creed, where they did both, didn't they? They released a PS4 version and a PS5 version of the Valhalla. I'm sure they did.
Yeah, they did, because we got the PS5 version. But they haven't done that for Cyberpunk. But I think, to be honest, if you try to play it on a PS4, I don't think it'll work. I think that's what half the trouble is.
I suppose they were probably thinking that more people would download it.
Maybe. It works all right on PCs, apparently. But I don't know. We've got it all loaded up anyway, so I'm sure by the next episode I'll be able to say something more fruitful about it. But the point I really wanted to make, my random YouTubing while Red Dead was installing, it must have been because I'd been looking at all this Nordic stuff, and there's what were it called? How Nordic Are You? And it's some sort of Netflix YouTube or whatever, and they had Gustav Skarsgård on, who plays Floki in Vikings.
Floki?
Yeah. And apparently a totally like Nordic thing to eat is cheese on toast with marmalade, or sometimes jam.
Okay.
Cheese on jam.
Yeah, I don't like cheese, so I'm kind of lost with that. Jam on toast, yeah, I can get.
Cheese and jam.
Yeah, I don't. I suppose, is it a sweet and sour? I don't know. It's
Well, cheese is your salty. I mean, marmalade's quite sharp, but if it were jam, then that's obviously your sweet. And maybe it's like the peanut butter and jam business,
maybe.
which I have had and is actually quite nice. So I'll tip my cap to the Americans for that one.
Yeah, but I really like crunchy peanut butter on toast with Nutella spread on top, and it's like Reese's Pieces on toast.
Oh yeah, but that's like classic chocolate peanut butter
and
business.
there's about 1 million calories in a
Oh my
slice.
god, I love Reese's Pieces.
And it's so stodgy, it all sticks through, but it's like...
Oh boy, it sounds so nice. So at the beginning of this podcast, we were talking about counting calories and trying to eat better.
Yeah, we didn't say we were any good at it.
Oh, oh no. Oh, so come on, tell me what you've been watching, reading, or not watching or reading.
Well, I'm still reading Folly of the World by Jesse Bullingdon, but I'm about halfway through it now. It's kind of lost its pace a bit for me, so it's got to be a bit of a slog, but I'll finish it eventually.
Okay.
I've been listening to Audible, and I've been listening to Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, book 3 or 4. I can't remember which one it is now. I'm trying to bang them out as quickly as I can because I'm actually playing in a D&D game that's set in the Wheel of Time universe.
Oh wow!
So in order to research that, I'm trying to read it and not give myself any spoilers.
Yeah.
Also, I want to read it or listen to it being read to me before Amazon release their TV series of it.
Oh, okay.
Because I read Game of Thrones before they released that on TV. I like to read it and then...
Did you read them all? I mean, I know they weren't all available, and that's another episode.
Game of Thrones, yeah. I read what was available. Yeah, I've read all of them apart from the one he hasn't written.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. Watching, believe it or not, I've watched something.
You had time to sit down, you busy boy.
I started watching on, I think it was on Amazon, and it was the Real Middle Earth. And it was a documentary about the places that inspired Tolkien, where he got his place names from and all the bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And normally I love stuff like that, but I gave up halfway through.
Oh. Why? Was it just crap?
Yeah, it was a really old TV show. It's probably like a straight-to-video thing.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't in HD, which annoyed me.
Yeah.
And then it was just quite slow-paced.
I do remember one of these little snippets that you hear. Tolkien and who wrote The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe?
C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, they were friends of a sort. They knew each other. They communicated.
Yeah, because they were part of the Inklings. Being from Oxford, I tend to know these things.
I've not heard that.
Yeah, the Inklings were Tolkien, C.S. Lewis. Having just said I know these things, I've forgotten his name already. The one that wrote Alice in Wonderland.
Lewis Carroll.
Yeah, they were all like a group of writers that used to meet at the Eagle and Child in Oxford. They used to sit in the corner and drink.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they all knew one another that way.
Oh, that's well cool. Oh well, the point I was going to make is I'd heard that Tolkien had told. You've just said his name, Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis. You could never have a lamppost in a fantasy book, and so that's why he put the lamppost in The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe, just to stick 2 fingers up at Tolkien and say, if I want a lamppost in my book, I'm going to have one. Don't know if that's like true, but it was something I heard.
Yeah, as I say, the Eagle and Child is a nice pub anyway in Oxford. Have you read any The Lion, the Witch, Narnia series?
I've not read the books. I've obviously, well, not obviously, but I have seen the films. But for me, I preferred. There was a BBC. God, I sound like I work for him. BBC iPlayer on the BBC. I don't. In the like 90s, there was a BBC version.
Yeah.
And I prefer that.
Do you? I like the films.
I don't know, just didn't sort of grab me.
Oh, I quite liked them.
They were all right, but I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe it was the actors in it or something. I just preferred this old this old one.
So you didn't see the Disney Plus show where it's the props?
No.
And one of the ones he does is the props from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, okay.
They're really, they're beautifully made.
Yeah.
All the Snow Queen dresses and that, and the sleigh they're beautiful. I think a lot of it was all done by Weta that did Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lord of the Rings. But the Snow Queen character is like the same one that's like Elsa's based on, isn't it? It's the same idea of a story. The evil Snow Queen, but they made Elsa from Frozen not so evil. She was a little bit funny at one point, but it is from the same story. So I read.
If you go to Disneyland Paris, they do Let It Go in French.
Oh, okay.
And it sounds so aggressive. She's up on stage and you're like, oh my God, that's quite scary. Sounds really aggressive. And you know what she's singing, but you're just like, Christ.
Have you ever heard anybody talk Portuguese? I'm not slagging off Portuguese people, but I used to have a friend that was Portuguese, and that's like a quite violent sounding language. And maybe he was just angry all the time, I don't know. But whenever he talked, it always seemed very confrontational.
Yeah, it's quite harsh.
Not like our lovely English lilt.
My awful country bumpkin accent.
Oh yeah, because my northern ramblings is far superior.
So yeah, I watched The Real Middle Earth on Amazon, but it only got a 2 out of 10 from me.
Let you down.
And the second thing I watched was the first episode of WandaVision.
I meant to ask you about that. I haven't watched it yet.
I'm not the biggest Marvel Universe fan.
Yeah.
I kind of know the characters, and it was a massive, what the fucking hell is going on?
You're not alone, apparently.
It's filmed from what I can gather, each episode, it sort of moves through the decades of TV. So the first one's like 1950s.
Oh, okay.
And it's like a 1950s sitcom. And don't get me wrong, they've got the feel of it. They've captured it right. It feels from what I've seen of 1950s sitcoms.
Yeah.
But there's also this element of a real something going on underneath. And there's just certain little bits of it or the way stuff's delivered. And you're like, this has quite the potential of being a bit dark.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch the rest of it.
Well, my other friend that watched it, and he is into Marvel stuff, and he just sent me a message saying, WTF. That was it. I said, mate, if you don't get it, I ain't got a clue. But yeah, that's definitely on my to-do list. But I just haven't got around to it yet. So I think there's 2 or 3 episodes on there at a minute, isn't there? They're uploading them once a week, I think.
I think there might even be 3 or 4, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, I've missed it that much.
Well, they released the first 2 on the same day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's probably 4 on there now then, yeah.
Probably because if they'd released the one on its own, they'd be like, we really don't get it.
Yeah.
Is it all like this?
Yeah. They did that with Discovery as well, Star Trek Discovery, because the first episode was a bit like, huh? So you needed the first 2 episodes to sort of get where you were starting before episode 3 was the story, basically.
Yeah.
Are you still watching that?
I haven't been watching it as much because my wife and daughter used to do like an online choir thing during this shutdown. They haven't done it since Christmas, but that was like my TV night. And as they haven't been doing it, I'm not allowed the big TV in the posh room.
You're not allowed the big TV.
So I got the little black and white portable.
Oh, bless you. Black and white portable?
No, I haven't got one of them. How old do you think I am? Did you ever have a black and white TV?
Yeah. It was my brother's bedroom, but he were in RAF, so I basically colonised it. And there were a black and white telly, and it had a knob on it that you had to twist. You pulled it out, and the channel buttons, you had to like physically push them in. That were a cracking little telly. I used to watch, back onto the sci-fi theme, The Invaders. It was a bit like Body Snatchery. I think it had Vincent Price in it. It was black and white anyway, so I wasn't missing anything. Yeah, it was like a body snatcher theme, and I'm sure it was called The Invaders, and that was like I don't know, Saturday late morning job before lunch. I don't know.
I used to have this tiny little, probably a 6-inch TV, but it was a TV, radio, cassette player all in one.
Oh, I've seen them. Yeah, my uncle had one.
And man, it was awesome because you used to be able to tune in to the local police radios, listen to all them, and yeah, it's an awesome bit of kit. I wish I still had it, but it's one of the things I never hoarded.
There was something you didn't hoard.
I know.
I'm really, really hoping my mum and dad kept their reel-to-reel player. I'm sure that they have. My mum says she can't remember throwing it away, but it'll be in one of the cupboards somewhere when we finally get to go through everything.
Is that a cassette or film? Like a cine film?
Audio.
Yeah.
It's just like a flat box, and you put like one reel on the left and the other reel on the right. And I remember we had War of the Worlds, a couple of other things, and I think I have a vague memory there might have even been some blank tapes, so there might be some like mental recordings of me when I were a kid, which would be the coolest thing in the whole world, and I have all of my fingers and all of my toes and all appendages crossed that is true, and someday I am going to find this jewel.
So if we've got a recording of a 8-year-old Hayley being a BBC DJ, we're going to post it on here, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know how you're going to get a reel-to-reel tape onto...
There's probably ways and means.
I'm sure there's some technology somewhere.
So what of it? I've watched that. I didn't watch that. Yeah, that's about it. I haven't played any computer games. I've done a few D&D games, but that's been about it, really.
But have you enjoyed yourself? That's the most important thing.
Well, apart from working, it's been all right.
Work.
Oh, I also, I think you saw on my Instagram that I built my graveyard terrain.
Yeah. Oh, I keep meaning to talk to you about that.
In case we ever get to play D&D again in person.
Yeah, I felt in person. I felt all inspired. I love the idea of sitting there making like little dioramas and models and things, but I'm a perfectionist, which is a problem because I procrastinate. So I tend to not start anything for fear of doing it wrong, and then I just like piss about anyway. But if I made a D&D set, so to speak, you know, like a 3D battle map, you'd like get to use it once and then that's it. That sort of like troubles me, putting all the effort into doing something.
Well, that's kind of what I've been doing at the minute, is stockpiling basically old Games Workshop stuff.
Yeah.
Just so that I've got something to do. For me, in my head, it's like, it's got to be amazing. So if I had the money, you know what I mean, you'd go into one town and I'd have this big table all set up at this town, and then you'd be like, oh wow. But then I'd have to go and build a whole new town if you went to the next town along. And that's how my head works. But I need to get it down to being, no, I just need a core set of buildings, and that's, you know what I mean, that's what you're getting.
Yeah. The way our group plays D&D.
Just need loads of fireballs.
You're going left, I'm going right, I'm going to my own town. No, we do work together sometimes on it.
But yeah, I've ordered a few little houses that have been 3D printed just to see how they've turned out. Give them a little bash.
Have you heard of book nooks?
Yeah, it's like a space between on your bookcase, and the people have been building. I think I saw a cool Diagon Alley.
Yeah, I found this. I think it's a girl. I think they're called Nerd Forge, and they're on YouTube. And she builds these amazing things for these book nooks, and they're so detailed. They look gorgeous. I totally fell down a YouTube hole looking at these things, and I would love to build one. But again, it's like, I mean, I haven't got a library where I could put such a thing, so I don't know. But the idea of making them miniature things really appeals to me, but I'm going to have to find a use something more practical to justify making it.
You need your games room sorting out.
Well, when people are allowed back to your house and you can have stuff done again, then.
So yeah, I built that. I will eventually paint it.
Yeah, eventually.
So at the minute, I've got a couple of houses. I've got a shipwreck, and I've got a graveyard and the arcane ruins. So it's like a little Stonehenge temple.
Yeah.
The ones I really want are like the Witch Fate Tour, so it's like a big wizard's tower.
Oh, okay.
Surprise, surprise. It's Games Workshop, so these models are from Warhammer Fantasy, so they're obsolete. And you're talking of crazy money. Fortified manor house. You're talking of like 400-500 quid.
One of my friends is quite into making miniatures. I think she started off doing like little Christmas decorations. And she did a little sweet shop, I think. And they're really tiny, really detailed, and they look so good. And I'm sure I've seen it's like a greenhouse or something, and you buy the kit, and it's all quite fiddly. Which again, I mean, I'm talking about doing miniatures, but I've got I don't know what you call them, but I've just got like fat fingers. I'm really clumsy. I'm not very good. I'm not very delicate. That's the word. So I could probably make buildings and stuff.
Yeah, I can say if you made buildings, it doesn't matter. Then you could just go, oh, it's supposed to be like a ruin.
It's supposed to be a ruin.
The problem I have is I've got these miniatures, and my eyes are so bad I can't see to paint them.
Well,
you know what I mean? I'm like magnifying glasses galore, like I'm at the opticians just to see.
Yeah, that's why I got peed off doing the Warhammer ones.
Oh, you were doing the Slanesh, weren't you?
Yeah. And I were really going to give it a go. Because I think I would have a go at playing the game with some tutelage. But putting the models together, I just have not got the patience and the time, and I can't bloody see them. I really can't. And I got one of them magnifying glasses with a light on it, and you clip it to your table. And I'm trying to see where you glue this tiny bit of plastic to this tiny bit of plastic, and I just can't see it. And I'm not blind or anything. I do wear glasses, but there's not a massive magnification. Maybe I need stronger ones. But I just couldn't do it. And I thought, stuff this, I can't be arsed. And then you're supposed to paint the bleeding things. And I thought, you know what? There's more to life. I can learn macrame instead.
My problem is I'll look at them, I'll build them, but then I'm looking at Games Workshop's professional painters or the people online that are like really, really good. And then I look at mine and it looks like a 4-year-old's done it. And it's like
dog shit.
Why do I fucking bother? In my head, I want it to look like that. If it doesn't look like that, I'm not playing with it. I'd be embarrassed to put these on a table.
Well, say my other half plays 40k. He's got a channel on YouTube, actually. I should probably plug it at some point. Planet 40k on YouTube.
We'll link it. I'll link it in the description.
Oh, yeah, we'll put a link in. All things Warhammer 40k.
But yeah, some people do rock up with non-painted ones, and I know that you can get some places will penalise you for that.
Yeah, that is precisely the point that I was going to make. It was literally like you sucked it out of my brain. I forgot it and you just said it. That's weird. But yeah, you're not allowed to play in games unless you've got painted ones. Some clubs are like proper hot on that stuff. That's how I was starting the point, because say my other half, one of his armies, he refused to paint it because he's not $1 million at painting them. So rather than making them look rubbish, he thought, well, I'll just leave them. And he don't play in clubs or anything, so it didn't matter. But I did hear that, yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun, and if it gets a bit like that, it's not a painting competition.
No, I mean, if you want to do a painting competition, then you can join one. But if you just want to play the game and you're not very good at painting, I think you should still be allowed to join in.
Mean, don't get me wrong, it does look better when, it's aesthetically pleasing to look at a nice 40k battlefield and they're all painted up and stuff, and you're like, oh, there's a lot of work gone into that. That's kind of cool. But
they have released some paints. I can't remember what they're called, but
the contrast
yeah,
ones.
they're supposed to be easier, aren't they?
Yeah, I keep meaning to get a couple of them to try.
Yeah, I don't know if they are. I mean, I've never.
But we went into lockdown and I've just not bothered buying any paints.
No, well, it's not like you're going to be playing a game with anybody this side of Christmas, maybe. That's Christmas 2021.
Well, it gives me a chance to catch up. I'm sat here and I'm looking, I've got a Warhammer Age of Sigmar box of ghouls, flesh eater courts to build and paint. I've got a Lord of the Rings Lake Town house to build and paint.
You should stop buying shit, Mike. How do you get on? What you need to pack work in, concentrate on what's important, painting your models.
Well, yeah, I'll set up I'll set up a channel and video my progression from shit painter to mediocre.
Yeah, it's a journey.
Middle-aged miniature maker.
Middle-aged miniature mam. Right, mam?
Maybe not. So yeah, that's our intro sorted.
Yeah. It's like nearly 50 minutes. We need to sort this out. I apologise. Listeners.
Cool, just go with it.
The rise of the RPG. What do you mean by that?
It's to do with basically the popularity of RPGs in general. Mainly D&D. Let's be honest, D&D's the big hitter.
Yeah. It's the most accessible one. It's the big brand, isn't it?
It's the Premier League of role-playing games.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best one in some eyes, but...
Well, it most definitely has problems. I know there's times when I've wanted to do something or played it out in my head and the mechanics of it just don't really allow you. And if you're lucky and you've got a good DM, then they will sort of fudge things a bit to get your story working how you want it. But no, sometimes they are a bit clunky, but then it's easy to get to grips with, innit?
Yeah. My issue with 5e is I don't like the character builder. If you're just using out the player's handbook, I know they've added to it various other modules.
Yeah.
But I find it's really limited.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm a fighter and I'm an ex-soldier. And it's like, oh, but that's kind of not the background I wanted. I wanted it more...
I think, maybe
I wanted him as a farmer and he's progressed into being a mercenary or something. Do you know what I mean?
I think they have updated things a bit with Tasha's Cauldron. I've got it. I've not actually read it properly all the way through, to be fair. But I think it does give a lot more flexibility on racial levels, definitely. If you're an orc, you don't just have to be a stereotypical orc. You could be a really intelligent, maybe less muscular or something. They've, broadened things that way.
My D&D game's set in Midgard, made by Kobold Press, and they, for ages, you have been able to play all the races. So you could be a kobold, a goblin. Do you know what I mean? You can be all the...
Yeah.
Most of all the races.
Yeah.
Which I think is better.
You need something simple to get started with. So I think the Player's Handbook does do that quite well. But you also need the scope to be able to create a character of anything. How you desire it to be, because you're the one playing it at the end of the day. So the new wave, I suppose you could call it, do you think it mainly centres around Stranger Things?
No, I believe that a lot of the popularity is to do with how we consume content. I think mainly a lot of it is due to a lot of games being streamed on Twitch.
Yeah.
You've got all the actual play podcasts, YouTube channels. You could probably log on Twitch now and there'd probably be 8 or 9 different actual play games of Dungeons and Dragons. That's without any Call of Cthulhu or Warhammer.
Yeah.
And I think that has increased the popularity of it. And a lot of that, I think, as well, is Critical Role. Not a
Yeah.
huge Critical Role fan myself, but millions of people are.
No, neither am I. I know people go mental for it. I think it's a little bit too polished. I used to watch people play Roll20 players, and I really enjoyed it. But Critical Role for me was just too much, like just too professional, like voice actors and doing things too properly.
Yeah, they do say there is the is it they call it the Critical Role effect, so people get into the hobby thinking it's all going to be like that.
Yeah.
What they don't show is the 20-minute conversation about the same rule of jumping.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh, we did that 4 weeks ago.
know.
I know, but we've all forgotten.
Which rules you're gonna sort of not obey properly, depending on what sort of game you're playing. But they're all discussions that you have with your players while you're playing. But if it was like you said, like say Twitch and that, what do you think sparked people putting games on Twitch, or was it just, I don't know, people thinking what can they put on Twitch, and it just sort of happened naturally?
I wasn't really watching Twitch at the start of it, so I don't quite know what the first shows were. I don't know whether it was just a group of people sort of going, let's put something different on. It's normally people playing Red Dead or whatever, the Cyberpunk. Let's be a bit different and just put this up. We used to play it.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know how it started on now.
Yeah. See, I would have to obviously put myself in that new wave of players. I did play once when I was about 17. I didn't really know what I was doing. I don't think I even really knew it was D&D, to be fair. I just remember picking the name of a character and rolling some dice, and some various things happened, and I had to interact with this guy, and I felt a bit weird, half pretending to be somebody. But I was always aware of Dungeons and Dragons and what it was, and I just went through my life never interacting with it. And then after I had my little boy, it was the same year that Stranger Things came out, 2016, and I just wanted something for myself, a new hobby that didn't involve looking after small people.
Yeah.
And I thought, stuff it, I'm gonna try and get involved in this Dungeons and Dragons business. So I started getting involved, watching stuff on YouTube and Twitch, and it was actually, and I can't remember his name, bless him, but it was a streamer on Twitch that helped me design my very first character that I used in our first game. And he was literally like live helping me, talking me through. Because I have found the whole community very friendly, to be honest. I've never had any trouble. Everybody's been really helpful, and I've been welcomed into it by everybody. So I know not everybody's had that experience from what I've seen on Facebook.
Is that more to do with you being more of the opposite sex? I mean, a great bulk of it is the sad, lonely male nerd.
White, straight, male.
No, but I've seen it on like Facebook groups where people have gone, I'm looking for a game, and it's been a man asking, and there's been no response, and yet a female lady will ask the same question, and there'll be about 20 responses of, oh, I'm playing on Sunday and got a space if you want.
I think it's probably a combination, because you've got more females playing now. You've also got a lot more diverse group playing, full stop. And I've noticed a lot of games when they're advertising for people or whatever, and it'll say LGBTQ friendly, because unfortunately I think the stereotype of the straight white male running a straight white male game can be quite intimidating, and that can be unfair. But I do think when you're in your own zone, small jokes that you might include in a game that you won't realise could be offensive to somebody, And then it's like, oh, if you were a gay man wanting to get involved and play, and everybody, it was all straight men, and somebody had a scene where they went into a gay club and it was supposed to be funny, but you might just feel a little bit awkward. It's like, oh, okay, I know you're not attacking me, but it's just awkwardness. So I think people going into games, females going into games where there are other females, it just makes you feel a bit safer. And I mean, there has been a bit of controversy around it, hasn't there? It was the UK Games Expo that we went to, actually.
2019.
Yeah. I can't remember the exact story, but somebody ran a game.
I can't remember if it was a rape or some sort of assault.
Yeah, and I can. Yeah, and I can imagine, not to stereotype, but if you are a group of straight white blokes, you run the world. You may get used to saying and acting in a certain way, because they're the only people that have been playing these sorts of things. And I presume it was innocent, because surely going to an expo and running a game and including something like that, he had to have thought it was okay. I can't imagine that he went in thinking, right, I'm going to try and upset some people. But it's also a bit stupid.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because you're playing at an expo where you're not going to know that much about the group you're playing with. Out of our group, it's kind of, it's not hard because even I don't know everything about all of you guys.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want to touch on some of the effects, but I kind of know what I can get away with.
Yeah.
So I'd probably do more awkward stuff with you guys than I would others.
Yeah, as you get to know people, then you know, as you become friends, then you do relax a bit and you do, maybe push a few boundaries. But if you are at an expo and you don't know anybody, surely you keep the storyline pretty easy.
It's like you joined us and I had to throw out all my bikini clad barbarian women.
Oh, shut up.
I got them all lined up, but oh no, we've got a lady with us now. We can't have the bikini clad barbarian women anymore. Heroines tied to the table. Damsels in distress.
You know what's funny was, like, initially when I joined our group, it was like every time anybody swore, they apologised to me, and I'm like, I don't understand. I probably swear more than you lot put together. But I understand it was like a respect thing. I mean, having a female coming into your group when you were all blokes anyway. I mean, maybe that's intimidating for you as men. I don't know. Oh God, there's a girl. I don't know what to do. What do we do? I don't know.
I think it's just intimidating having anyone new.
Yeah.
I think we're lucky in that we got quite a big age range as well.
Yeah, that helps. Because when you're young, you're stupid anyway.
It's not like a group of old kids or a group of old men. We got kind of quite a good...
Yeah, and that probably does help. Because I know I have seen people on Facebook talking about groups that they're in, and they've, I don't know, stupid players, stupid DMs, people being, just awkwardly awful in the game. And we've never had any of that, which, I'm really grateful for. So I know not everybody's as lucky.
It's a game, and I think we try. Everyone's got to have fun.
Yeah, that's the bottom line.
And I know the introduction of the X card, it seems more prominent in games like Cthulhu.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a X card D&D game.
Well, they do have other rules, don't they? Is it something called Behind the Veil? Because if somebody was running a game and I was playing, and they wanted to create a dynamic where somebody had been hurt or assaulted, I don't think you even need to include a rape theme, to be honest, unless there's going to be a child produced. But you don't have to actually be witness to it. You can just, I think, they say they're drawing a veil over it and just provide some basic details of what's happened, but you don't have to role play it.
Yeah.
I think that's what the clangor is.
I know when I've played my Cthulhu games are set in like the 1920s, but it's kind of like I tried to make it an alternate 1920s,
Yeah.
so the whole racism thing's played down quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't need that. We'd be looking at horrors rather more than that social side of it.
Well, do you remember?
So I do try to play them down.
Yeah, I mean, again at the UK Games Expo, there was four of us, you, me, my other half, and one of my other friends, who's from Goa, and we were all stood waiting to go in, and it was like, oh, spot the only brown man in the crowd, and we were like, talking about it and having a joke, but it is a very, white male dominated arena, isn't it? So
I think it's slowly changing.
yeah, definitely. With the popularity now, especially if you look at games that are being streamed, it's a lot more diverse. It's a lot more interesting. Female, straight, trans, people from everywhere, all sorts of colours and shapes and sizes, and it's just better because people have different experiences and they can play different and better characters. I think so.
No, I think the popularity, like Chaosium, I think it was like an all-black writing crew did Harlem Unbound.
Oh, okay. Oh, I've not heard of that.
I think there's a D&D booklet on the DM's Guild that was all adventures written by women.
Yeah.
I think it was a lot of them were all to do with women or something. I've not looked at it.
Yeah.
Probably should have before I made this statement.
No, I just think that the more diverse it is, you just make for a better story. And it's just getting better. More people are playing, there's more money getting put into these things. And I don't know how it was before, but I think there's like more independent RPGs coming about. Like I've seen quite a few things on Kickstarter, and I've had a few sent to me. There was one I really wanted to buy because it looked awesome. It was like some Nordic set fantasy world. You might have even sent me the link to it. I can't bloody remember what it was called. But there's loads out there now.
Yeah, the ones I've backed at the moment, hopefully it comes out soon, Beowulf.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Which it's like a 5th edition sort of Anglo-Saxon Viking sort of setting, but it's one DM, one player. You can run it with like 2 or 3, but it's quite an interesting rules set. That's done by a small company called Handiwork Games.
Oh, okay. No, it sounds really interesting. I remember was it the animation? Didn't what's his face do the voice from Gladiator?
I don't know.
Or am I making that up?
But no, there's been quite a few little bits that I've backed. But I mean, yeah, you've got some real interesting RPGs themselves that are not D&D.
Yeah, there is a lot more out there.
Is it Shadows of the Demon Lord? It's Zweihander, Warhammer, Call of Cthulhu, RuneQuest.
And once you start playing, you get sucked into wanting to play more in different games, but you have to play them more than once to give it, the time to get into it.
Yeah, I just love RPGs, really.
And we've already mentioned sort of, lamenting about playing in person, but I think maybe lockdown has potentially had a positive impact on it, perhaps. People that might not have had a club or anything to go to. There's been more games being put on Roll20, and I think there's another one called Fantasy Grounds. That's another online system, I believe.
You've got Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, and there's a Foundry tabletop.
Yeah.
Fantasy Grounds and Foundry are, I think, much better than Roll20.
Why aren't we using them then?
You have to buy into them, so they're quite expensive, and they're really quite hard set up. I think Roll20 is a bit of a plug and play.
Yeah.
Whereas Fantasy Grounds and all that is a lot more, I'd have to create all the macros and all the bits and pieces, but I think they are better.
Yeah.
Roll20 is what we used. It was kind of what we were dabbling with before we went into lockdown, and it was just easier to.
Yeah. You can just pick it
Yeah.
up. It's very easy to use. But yeah, it would be nice to play in person, but I am very thankful that we do have that method that we've been able to continue playing.
I mean, as you say, there's more online games, so it is leading to more people getting into a game online, and hopefully that will transfer to in-person games.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I know I'm playing a hell of a lot more D&D now online than.
Yeah. I just stick to my 2 games. I haven't got the headspace for any more. I thought about it, but I was like, oh god, I just can't. I can't leave it at 2. But something I noticed from good old Father Christmas, merchandise. I think that's a good indicator of how popular something is, because there is D&D stuff all over the shop. I mean, you're not just talking, t-shirts and mugs. I got a table lamp for Christmas in the shape of a D20, and it's really cool. It like changes colour, but it's official like Wizards of the Coast merchandise. It's not just a D20. It's got their actual logo on it. And I did get a mug as well. I got a D12 mug.
You've also got a you've made it big when you have an annual. I did see on Amazon that there was a Dungeons and Dragons annual.
Yeah. It's like a watered down version of the PHB, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, and I think it's designed to get a slightly younger generation into playing it.
Because they did have them younger. I've seen like the books, and it's like the monsters and stuff.
Yeah, they're a lot younger though, aren't they? But I think these are more aimed at sort of like younger teens, perhaps, because they're probably.
But that's what you need to do. You need to sucker them in now.
Oh yeah, and take them for
life. I first played D&D back into 80s during the Satanic Panic.
Oh god,
it was like, oh, I love this game, but then I kind of gave it up. I brought a copy of 3rd edition, never played it, and then got suckered back in at 5th.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. You just got to get them initial hooks in.
Yeah, I think was it.
And what you'll probably find is it'll drop down in popularity, but then you'll have the young kids that played 5th edition coming back in maybe 7th or 8th.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. When do you reckon they'll do 6th edition?
I don't.
Would they be stupid to do it now, soonish?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a quick thing, because they're doing all these supplements. So I think they are riding this wave of 5e. I think they've got a couple more years in it, definitely.
I personally think that they'll do a 6, either a 3.5, a 5.5, and change some of them, or a 6. And I think it's 5 years till its 50th anniversary or something.
Oh, okay.
And I wonder whether they'd tie it in then.
I don't know. I mean, what they're gonna. I mean, maybe like the things like we said, like with Tasha's Cauldron, where they've made character creation a lot broader. I mean, maybe it's going to be. I can only imagine that they make it more of a blank slate, where you really have the ability to make whatever you want.
But would that be more of the Warhammer fantasy roleplay path, where you end up choosing a profession? You can start as a beggar, and then you progress. Instead of XP leveling up, you sort of progress careers.
Yeah.
I mean, I prefer that system for that character creation side of it. But
yeah, there's things that you can't include, like in D&D, where you just want to play a game. I mean, if you're creating a character that's 50 years old, you do a background, but you're not creating 50 years of life. But sometimes it would be really, really interesting to be able to do things like that. And I know there are rules about downtime, crafting, learning new skills, but I mean, I've never been in a game where those sorts of things have been used, but it sounds really interesting. But I think it is more of the like long campaign game, perhaps, where you're thinking about what you're going to do.
It's a tricky road to balance a fun game of D&D to micromanaging loads of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to run an over-crumbling system,
Over crumble.
then got to manage that, but then you'd also have to manage downtime. And then I
Yeah.
know people that have done games where if you want to level up if you want to get like a dual wielder feat or something, you've then got to go and find a sword master to train you
Yeah.
this feat.
It totally depends on what your group is like, how you're playing. And I think for the majority of group that are doing it for a bit of fun, it's something to chill out with when you're not at work, blow off a bit of steam, act a bit stupid. I don't think you don't want to be spending the brain power on thinking about them tiny little things. You want to go into a tavern and blow some up. And that's, I think that's what most
Why
people
settle
want
with
to
just
do.
the tavern? There's a whole town. There's blowing it all up.
But something I saw that I really wanted to get, just talking about the merchandise bit, there was they were releasing these My Little Pony crossovers, gift sets, and there was a My Little Pony Dungeons and Dragons crossover set, and I think there's like...
Is that what did they call it? Some cutie marks and dungeons or something?
Might be. I'm not 100% sure. There were different ones, though. It wasn't just My Little Ponies, but I really wanted it. So you've got like, I don't know, 4 My Little Ponies, but they're all adventurers. But it's like 50 quid, and I thought, I'm going to stick it on the shelf, and it'll be nice, and I'll look at it, but do I really want
It's the start of hoarding.
But I'm not.
It's the start of hoarding.
I'm a minimalist.
Cutie marks and dragons. My Little Pony with Dungeons and Dragons crossover collection.
Yeah. It's like 50 quid, and there's a box of 4 in there.
Because there is a My Little Pony RPG, isn't there?
There is.
Tales of Equestria.
Yeah. It is apparently quite good. I can't remember where I was reading about it, but it was like somebody who plays D&D. I think they're probably showing it to their kids or something. But it is actually quite a good game, apparently. And I'm going to have the joy of hopefully introducing my little boy to all these sorts of things as he gets a bit older. He will do it. I've got him into Lego. Box number 1 ticked.
I failed on that. My daughter hates Lego.
RPGs is the next one.
It's gutting.
Oh.
She didn't mind playing with it, but she doesn't have no patience to build it. No imagination.
Yeah. We got Lego when we got some Playmobil, so that's like Lego, but they're already made basically. And he always went for the Lego. He likes sticking them together in completely random, I would say wrong, but it's his imagination, so he can do what he likes. He makes these little things and brings it to me and says, "It's a city." I'm like, oh, how lovely. But we'll get to the RPGs. We shall. They have included D&D in the odd film here and there, not actually counting the Dungeons and Dragons film that came out in 2002.
I don't know.
Was it?
Because there's 2, isn't there? And they're all bad.
One is Mazes and Monsters. Mazes and Monsters is on YouTube for free. Tom Hanks cares that much about it. But yeah, I think the one that came out in 2002, it's just got nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons, really. I mean, it has a mage in it, and it's a bit sword and sorcery job. And I believe there are dragons in it. It's been that long since I've seen it, but it's certainly not anything for fans that play the game. But I watched, what's it called? Animated Disney Channel.
Well, there's a lot of animation on the Disney Channel.
Onward.
Yeah, I've not seen that.
It is really good. Definitely watch it. It is the most D&D thing I have ever watched. Ever. I'm not going to give anything away, but there is a quest. They poke fun at things, but it's just really, really good. And as a player of D&D, that film just totally rocks. Definitely watch it.
Did you see the advert for, I think it was something like Just Eat or something like that, and he was doing a delivery, and one of them was to a load of people playing D&D.
Really? I've not seen that.
And it portrayed them as a real bunch of nerds. They were there dressed with their little wizard hat on, and it was just like,
yeah,
that's so true. but at the same time, it makes us look like idiots.
You have a Hobbit outfit.
I do.
I just outed you.
I was my outfit was to match my body shape.
Oh, I have.
I got big feet.
I have thought about that on one day when I'm going to venture into cosplay. It's like, okay, we've got to be realistic about this. I don't think dressing up in as a Borg is ever really going to happen unless I don't eat for a few years. But you never know. But what else? There's E.T. actually. We had E.T. on the other day. At the very beginning of that, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons at the table, like his older brother, and he tells Elliot that he can't join in. And that was the first time I realised that Dungeons and Dragons was included there. And obviously Stranger Things. Poor old Will.
I think Stranger Things was a big contributing factor. I mean, it'd be silly to blank it off. It has brought a lot of people back or introduced a lot of people to D&D.
Because Stranger Things is a bit of an odd series. It's sort of for adults, but it's like for teenagers as well. And I think it marries the two together quite well, which I think is really hard. Because when things are aimed at teenagers, sometimes it's just, when you're older, it's like, oh, Christ.
That first series was amazing. There's so many little bits in that was in there for just me. Even just looking at the logo when it had come up and you got the little white static dots as if you were watching a VHS. And it's just like pure nostalgia trip. It's slowly got not as good like most things. But I think some of that as well might be down to me getting a new 4K TV.
Yeah.
So a lot of programs I've watched and thought, that's like they're in a film set.
Oh, okay.
That looks so fake now. It's not as dark and gritty as...
I struggled with that. When I went to pictures to see The Hobbit, it looked too real and I didn't enjoy it. It was like watching EastEnders. It had that clear reality to it.
Have you seen... Probably not, but they've just released The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings in 4K.
No.
Yeah, they've just released them in 4K and he's actually gone through and he's recolour scaled it all.
Oh, wow.
And he's also said that some of the special effects didn't hold up, so they've actually redone them.
Oh, wow.
So he was saying that, you know, like some of the bits looked naff in 4K.
Yeah.
So they've actually not added anything to it. It's not a George Lucas, let's add a whole new bit. But what was there, he's made look more realistic.
Oh, wow. Oh, I'll have to give that a go. I mean, I stupidly bought things on Amazon Prime and then, like, the Disney Channel came out and that streams at a lot better quality than Amazon does, by the way. Amazon, you're listening. Sort it out.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Facebook at Nerd Bunker Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nerd Bunker Pod. And you can find us on Patreon at Nerd Bunker Podcast or Nerd Bunker Pod. Just type in one of them, it'll probably bring us up. Once again, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Intro music is Battle Theme by Kamiku, and is used under Creative Commons Zero license. All copyrights are property of their holders, and everything else belongs here in the bunker. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram at Nerd Bunker Pod and like us on Facebook. Please leave a review as it really helps them out. Thank you for listening.